Hi there, strikers. There's something uniquely disturbing about people vanishing into thin air. Read about these incredibly strange, unsolved cases. Although these disappearances span centuries, locations, age ranges, and circumstances, there's one common thread shared between them: a lack of closure. There are theories, speculations, and investigations, but never a decisive answer. On our incoming episode, I'm going to feature some of the cases of mysterious disappearances, of some missing that just disappear without any trace.
Disappear in 17 years, reappear and found living in Florida.
Denise DeRusso's Bolterhouse disappearance from New Hampshire has been an unsolved mystery for 17 years. Opened the front door to her Panama City FLA home at dawn yesterday morning.
Still half asleep, to find officers from Raymond N.H., Florida and the FBI on her doorstep. The 42-year-old bookkeeper and wife, who now goes by the name of Denise James, broke down in tears.
Denise Bolter, the much-loved daughter of Manchester residents Maurice and Claire DeRussos, disappeared on January 17, 1985.
A kidnap note saying, "We've got your wife," was found in the Raymond home Bolter had shared with her estranged husband. She was not heard from again.
Quickly, the footprints she left in the snow outside were gone.
Days after the disappearance, police found a pickup truck belonging to Bolter's husband abandoned at Logan Airport in Boston.
Neatly arranged on the front seat were her social security card, birth certificate and local charge cards. Denise Bolter was 24 at the time.
Her parents have lived in anguish ever since, not knowing if she was alive or dead. Her then-husband, who was never a suspect in the disappearance, divorced her in absentia. No one could understand why Bolter, who was close to her family, would just vanish. Police never did think she had been kidnapped. They thought it likely she ran out of fear. Some also believed it was possible she had been killed. Bolter was indicted by the Hillsborough County Grand Jury in April 1986, a year after she disappeared, for allegedly stealing $11,998.86 from the small Manchester company where she worked as a bookkeeper.
Raymond police now say she said she fled because a man identified as an alleged serial conspirator told her, "You're gonna be dead in 2 days." Raymond police LT Sean Coop said Bolter alleges her boss, now
deceased, had ordered her to cook the books so he could filch money from the business, which was owned by his wife.
Bolter, Coop said, believes in excess of $100,000 was stolen. When Bolter talked to the man's wife about it, Coop said he got very angry and whacked her around, leaving her with multiple bruises.
Bolter told her family she'd been in a car accident. He told her he was going to kill her, and she was pretty much gone in 24 hours.
He said, "You're gonna die in 2 days."
Coop said Bolter told police yesterday that she has been in South Carolina, the Bahamas, California, and Hawaii.
She had been living in Florida since 1996.
He said her current husband was stunned, but said a lot of things that didn't make sense before, did now. His wife would always be depressed on Mother's Day and out of sorts on holidays.
She never talked about family. Coop said Bolter could face federal charges for taking on a false.
Identity, and she was cooperating with the FBI. When county prosecutors dropped the embezzlement case in 1993, Bolter's parents prayed she would contact them, but many more. Years went by without a word. It was what police call a cold case, kept alive mainly because retired State Trooper Roland Lamy went to high school with Bolter's parents and took the disappearance personally.
"These are good, solid people from the west side of Manchester and they suffered greatly," Lamy said time after time. Police sent dental records out to investigators in other parts of the country, wondering if this time they would match the remains of some unidentified female corpse.
"I never once thought she was dead," said Lamy, who credited Raymond police for following up one blind lead after another, never giving up. Raymond's LT.
Coop, Officer Stephen McPherson and Lamy flew to Raymond's LT. Coop, Officer Stephen McPherson and Lamy flew to Panama City on Sunday to meet with investigators from the FBI and Phoebe County Sheriff's Department to plan how they would approach Denise James. This was, after all, a respectable bookkeeper with a good job.
Married and living in a nice home. They were so certain they had the right woman that they summoned Bolter's mother and father, who live in Orlando in the winter, along with her sister and brother, and had them waiting nearby at the sheriff's department until Bolter's identity was confirmed. Moments after police found her, also opened the door to see her family again.
It was a reunion of almost unbearable emotion.
Been hoping for this day for a long time, so we're very happy.
It's like she never left, said her mother Claire Desrousseaux.
Reached by telephone yesterday. We love her, and we missed her, and that's what we told her.
Maurice Desrousseaux, who is 77 years old and has a heart condition, said he was grateful to know his daughter is alive.
I am so thankful for what Roland did, he said, referring Ptolemy's work on the case over the years. I am very happy, said Denise Bolser, crying and barely able to speak. She never expected to see her family again. No, I never did think it would happen. She said, I'm very thankful.
It was the most emotional thing I've ever witnessed in my entire life, said Lamy. Coop said at Lamy's urging he took the Denise Bolser file home with him a few years ago. It was the thickest investigative file at Raymond Police Department, he said, and one of the most frustrating. Roland said she could be dead, but he had a feeling she's not. Coop said.
He takes me to meet the family, and I thought, oh man, I've got to help them. The two detectives work to keep the case before the public. Their story has been written about in the newspaper and has aired on missing person television shows. It is also listed on internet missing person websites. These sources have generated tips for police over the years, but none panned out. Last week, Shirley Casey, a licensed private investigator in Florida,
who traces people for a living, was perusing the Doe network. The case of Denise Bolser caught Casey's attention because her own mother and grandmother came from New Hampshire. It said she was probably living in a warm climate, said Casey, who wondered, could she be in Florida? Casey plugged information about the missing woman into her computer databases and came up with Denise in Florida with the same birth date, June 1st, 1960.
She emailed Raymond Police. I just passed the information along.
It sounded like it was their gal, she said. Coop called Florida authorities and found this Denise was living in Panama City. Then asked a county sheriff's department to send a driver's license picture.
I told them I need a picture. This could be her. Wednesday, IWA is sitting in the office and the computer goes, dink.
I watched the picture come down over the screen.
When it came to the eyes, I knew it. The sudden decision to escape one's life and run from real or perceived threats, even leaving behind beloved family and friends to cut off all contact, is a recurring theme in many of these cases, and the story of 24-year-old Denise Bolser of Manchester, New Hampshire, is no exception.
On January 17, 1985, Denise disappeared from her home without a trace, the only clue being a note which allegedly read, "We've got your wife." Several days later, authorities would find all of her important documents within the husband's abandoned truck at Logan International Airport, including her social security card, birth certificate and charge cards, all of which had oddly been carefully laid out on the front seat. But there was no trace of where she had gone or what had become of her. The mysterious note that had been left behind at her home also offered no real clues, as there was no forthcoming ransom demand or contact from whoever had written. The intense investigation hit one dead end after the next, and the best guess anyone could come up with was that Denise had perhaps been kidnapped and possibly even murdered. But there was no real evidence of this other than that anonymous note.
No suspects were targeted either, and Denise's husband was not pursued as a person of interest.
The first real break in the baffling disappearance would come when the CEO owner of the firm she had worked for was accused of embezzlement.
And it was found that Denise herself had been at least partially responsible for stealing between $12,000 and $100,000 when she falsified books in her role as bookkeeper.
She was charged with her crimes in absentia in 1986, and this information gave authorities reason to believe that it may have given Denise a reason to run, despite the fact that she was claimed to be very close with her family. Nevertheless, no good tips or leads on the disappearance could be found, and it was a perplexing mystery until 2002,
when a credible lead came in from a private investigator who had long been working to crack the case.
Denise Bolser was soon tracked down and discovered to be living in Panama City, Florida, where she had started over under the name Denise James,
and had indeed started a whole new family who had had no idea about her shadowy past life. When questioned about the whole ordeal, Denise came clean and explained that she had run when her ex-boss had threatened her life.
Nevertheless, at the time, she had had no idea that she was wanted for embezzlement, or that this was what had brought the authorities to her door.
She also said that she had lived in South Carolina, the Bahamas, California, and Hawaii during her absence. In 1996, the embezzlement charges were dropped.
And that's all for our featured presentation. Don't forget to like, share, comment down below, and subscribe. Thank you, strikers.